All right, we're live. So, welcome to Beastly Thoughts with Beastly Gamer and Briarrabbit, the show where we talk about video games, video game related news, and whatever else strikes our fancy. So, how you been, Beastly? What have you been playing?
Oh man, I've been playing Soul Sacrifice on the PS Vita. I just beat, believe it or not, I'm kind of late at this, but I just beat Mortal Kombat on the PS Vita. I've been, procrastinating on that, and when I finally got into it and gave it a shot, that story is amazing. The story in Mortal Kombat's better than the story in Injustice: Gods Among Us. I've been playing Time and
Back
Eternity.
to Mortal Kombat. Is that the same game that came out for the Xbox 360 like 2 years ago? Is that a port?
Yeah, it's a port. Yeah,
It's a port? Okay.
I've had it for a long time, and during my lunch breaks at work, I was like, man, I want to play something quick that I don't have to put in too much effort, and I just started going, through the story mode. It took me a couple of days during my lunch break, but it was really an amazing story. I'm playing Time and Eternity on the PS3. I made it's called What's It About? It's a new segment that I'm starting on the channel where I'll play the first 20, 30 minutes of a game without any commentary to let the subscribers or the viewers see what a game is about. And I feel like this game has not got enough coverage. It's fairly new. It's probably been out for about 6 months. And it's for anime fans. Like, if you like anime, then you will love this game. It's actually created in an anime style. Even when you play, it's an RPG. It looks like you're actually watching an anime when you're fighting these enemies, moving back and forth and shooting. It's really fun. It has a lot of dialogue, really funny stuff. And so I've been playing that. What else have I been playing? Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Full Burst. That's fairly new. Me and my son's been getting into that. I'm a big Naruto fan, as you guys can see. And so I've been enjoying that. Playing Call of Duty. I've been able to get on Battlefield 4 lately, so I probably got about 6 or 7 games of that in. I uploaded a video of that, too, showing some of the Battlefield 4 footage on the PS4. And that game is pretty amazing. I see the draw of it. I'm so used to playing Call of Duty with she and I next to each other, split screen, team deathmatch. But Battlefield offers something that just feels so different. It's 60 players, and it's so huge, it's so wide open and expansive. I found myself playing that, and she was sitting next to me, almost as excited about it as she would have been playing. So it's a really awesome game. I'd see potentially a lot of fun coming because I wasn't trying to get on it when everybody was trying to get on it, and the system was just breaking itself day by day. I waited till after the patches and stuff came out, and so I think now I'm probably going to get into it a little bit more. But I got a lot of them up late, man.
Yeah.
My son already gave up on the new Legend of Zelda for the 3DS.
All done?
No, he gave up on it.
Why?
Brett, and for those who don't know, I'm the Beastly Gamer, but my name is Brett. And so my son, Brett Jr., he doesn't have the resolve. When things get hard and they get complicated, then he'll go to something easier. And that's something I'm trying to break him from. But, kids will be kids. I saw him a few days ago on YouTube on his 3DS trying to, find where to go and how to beat certain bosses. And I told him, stick with that. If you need a strategy guide, we'll get you a strategy guide. But I came home Friday, and Kate told me he hasn't played in 2 days. So today's the fourth day. So I told him I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot.
It's a good game. There are parts of it that I found were difficult because you're still early in the game. You don't have all the items that really help you battle, and you don't have a lot of hearts, so you don't have a lot of health. But once you kind of get over that crest, you start earning those hearts, and you have a little more health. You get the Master Sword, so you can be shooting guys from across. You get the boomerang, or you get the boomerang upgrade. These things all start to make you a much more powerful character, and you kind of get over this hump where the game all of a sudden just becomes a lot easier. And the challenge then becomes, figuring out the puzzles in the dungeons as opposed just to try to survive. But I wonder how we'd feel about playing the original Zelda. That was, there were no hint guides. That game was, difficult. Or, some of those games that we used to play on the NES, man, they were hard.
Think about Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest.
Yeah, that game was hard to get off the first couple of levels.
You had to literally walk to the edge of the level, hold the crystal ball in your hand, and crouch for a tornado to come get you. How in the hell are you supposed to know that?
I don't know.
We were kids back then figuring it out. And nowadays, I guess it's a sign of the times, Briarrabbit. A lot of the games that are coming out now are very user-friendly. It's like Mac for video games. It's always an easier way to go about doing things now. And if you walk around too long, The game, lots of games will lead you in the direction you need to go. And so kids get spoiled on this dynamic where they don't have to use all of their own wherewithal to go, to figure out the game. And so when it becomes too hard, they do what Brett did, and they just stop. They slow down. And my son Brandon, I forget what game it was. He was playing a game last year, and he got to the end, and he's still waiting to beat that last boss. He just quit. And at the time, I was in Ohio, so now I'm here. I'm thinking about it now. What game was it? It wasn't.
Isn't he curious to see what the end of the story is going to be, or man, that would drive me crazy.
I know I would be, but it's like these kids nowadays. Well, I can't say them all because I was a kid, you were a kid. We got through it. We got it done. My boys, they'll instead of thinking about or letting that thought of what is beyond this level, what's beyond. It was Resident Evil Revelations, actually. That's what it was. Brandon was playing that on his 3DS. I bought it for him on release day. My older son, he beat it. He beat it after about 2 weeks. Brandon got really far and just quit. And I guess because Brett beat it, Brett kind of told him what was going on. But me personally, that thought would have killed me not doing it myself.
Yeah.
They have so many games. My kids got a lot of game console. Speaking of game consoles, you guys are going to see a little bit of the stuff I got today. But when they get, their minds get wrapped around one hard boss, what they'll do is they'll move on to something else to fill that void in their mind.
Yeah.
And so they're playing something else, and they have fun with it, and they instantly forget. And that's what goes on with these kids nowadays.
Well, back in the day, too, is, I got one game like every 6 months or one game a year. Later in the life cycle of the NES, you started being able to rent games, so you got to play more games more frequently. So if I got a game that was hard,
you had to beat it.
You beat it. You spent 6 months on that one game because that was the game you had. I remember Rush and Attack. It was like this. It was a terrible game.
Extremely hard.
It was hard as hell. I played that and I played it. Oh man.
Nowadays, when games come out with that kind of difficulty level, is looked at as something different, like Dark Souls. These games are extremely hard to beat. Mega Man, they repackaged and remade all these old Mega Man games, Mega Man 9, 8-bit graphics, but it had that difficulty level that people look at now as kind of unreachable. But when we were kids, that was the norm. I mean, no games just handed you the victory. You had games like Commando on I was about to say PlayStation, on NES that was incredibly hard to beat. Like I said, all the Castlevania games, these games had high difficulty level. Rush and Attack, 2D side-scroller, extremely hard. If you didn't know the passcode for Contra, you were in a world of trouble.
Yeah, that game was hard too.
These games didn't just hand you a victory.
A lot of the games were just ports from the arcade, so they were literally designed. They were literally designed to cost you 25 cents per play, and then they port them for home, so it was just like they'd only give you like 3 continues. So it's like you had to be so good at that game to get through what would have cost somebody like $5 in quarters to beat. At home, you only got 3 continues, and they were really difficult. Did I lose you, Brett?
Yeah, I was going to actually make a video on them. The thought of old arcades and what it stood for versus now how it's over. I don't think we'll ever see them again. But I actually have an arcade cabinet emulator. We've got a whole bunch of arcade games, HDMI, the whole bang. And I can actually capture it and show these games. I was going to show them off. But yeah, I spent big money. And especially in the early 90s, I spent big money in arcades. I'd go in there with $30 and go home broke.
Yeah.
Twice a week. Playing fighting games, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. That killed our money. Street Fighter when it first came out. It was insane. But nowadays, like I said, these games are made for kids to be able to beat them. You got these easy modes. Normal is pretty standard. Hard is now what old normal used to be.
Yeah, when I get a new Halo game, I don't even mess with normal. I put it right to like the harder mode. I usually don't put it on like the legendary mode, but it's not a whole lot of fun to just beat up on guys that aren't fighting back. So there you go. I love that game. Yeah,
this is a classic for sure.
Yeah.
Love me some Halo. There's been a few things going on in the gaming world. What have you been hearing, Briarrabbit?
I actually read, I can't remember the website I saw it on, but it had to be the dumbest article I've ever seen in my life. They rated like the top 25 buttons on a controller ever. So like one of the buttons was the A button on the GameCube controller. Like, how do you rate a single button on a controller? But it got me to thinking, like, what were my all-time favorite controllers throughout history? Like, the big ones that came to mind were obviously the NES controller. That was the first time I got a digital D-pad. The Super Nintendo controller that had the shoulder buttons and, much more buttons. The Xbox 360 controller I thought was fantastic. The PS4 controller I currently think is fantastic. The Dreamcast controller I really loved. I know you got one of those right there with you.
I might have about 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, and that one had the spot for the screen for the what was the yeah.
So that it's a.
And then the Wii U I think is a pretty cool controller too.
You said the Wii U?
Yeah.
I've never tried that controller.
It's a good controller, and it's got a big ass touchscreen right in the middle of it.
This one here, I didn't like this one too much.
The N64 controller really needed that second stick, but it was the first time we ever saw an analog stick on a home console controller.
They brought Nintendo has always been revolutionary when it comes to controllers. That's kind of the staple now of what Nintendo offers. I mean, even with the Wii U, they brought something new to the table. The first console with a gigantic LED screen. Well, I don't know if it's LED, but it's a screen that you can play your games on, probably downscale. But they brought the first analog out here. They brought with the Wii, they brought out the first motion control.
Yeah.
I think the analog mechanic of this controller was fantastic. The thing I didn't like as much was the D-pad on here.
Yeah. How about the Wavebird? You remember the Wavebird?
Yeah.
That one was, I believe, the first wireless controller that didn't use infrared. It used RF. That was a good controller.
Man. I remember all this stuff. It's crazy. I got a controller somewhere. Here we go. I've had this controller for 15 years, and I've never used it. This is a collector's item, Capcom.
Sega?
PlayStation 2 Street Fighter controller.
Wow.
With the holograph of Chun-Li spread an eagle while she kicks.
That's a little dirty.
I had this since I was a kid. I saw it, I believe, before GameStop bought all the, I think it was Funko Lands down here in Georgia.
Yeah.
I bought it there and had it, I've had it ever since. One of the few things I've had all this time. But I'm big on these games, and the fact that they would actually, how can you rate a button though? Of course you don't remember the website. How can you? I think the B button on the Super Nintendo should be up there.
Way better than the A button.
I mean, that's really crazy. I can understand kind of analogs or maybe shoulder buttons.
I guess it was just so obscure, but it made me think about like my favorite controllers, and it was fun to reminisce on some of my favorites. Now, obviously, there's been so many like second-party controllers or third-party controllers, but what I was really kind of going for were the first parties, the ones that came as pack-ins on the consoles themselves. And there's been some good ones, and it's amazing how much has changed since the NES. Then there were some bad ones too. Remember the Jaguar controller that had like a number pad on the bottom?
I don't know where my Jaguar is. It has, I think, like 30 buttons on it.
Yeah. 4
or 5 in each line, and it was huge. The controller is this big, gray and red.
Yeah.
And the console is garbage. I was kind of mad at myself when I bought it. I caught a good deal on eBay. This is probably about 8 years ago. Came with 9 games, and I hated all of them. That controller was terrible. Yeah, it was one of the worst, man.
The TurboGrafx, I kind of remember, had a decent controller, and it had rapid fire built in out of the box.
I used to play a lot of Bonk's Adventure on there, and Kid Chameleon? No, I think Kid Chameleon was Sega. I'm trying to remember. I know it was Bonk's Adventure.
Legendary Axe comes to mind on TurboGrafx.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of time on that. I actually really, really liked the Sega Genesis controller when it first came out.
Yeah, with the 3-button, the original 3-button one.
I got it around here somewhere. It's somewhere. Yeah. When this controller first came out with Sega, with Sonic the Hedgehog, it made so much sense to me. I was a big Super Nintendo guy, and I went over to my Uncle Aaron's house, and he had, big floor model TV, and he had Sonic on it, and it was so fast. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. Sonic was moving so quick, and then he handed me the controller, and it just felt so right.
Well, it has the blast processing, you see. You know, Sega has what Nintendo don't.
That blast processing, yeah, that made all the difference in the world. But I actually really like this controller when it first came out. Now,
Yeah.
later generations of games that came out for the Sega Genesis, they needed more buttons. I mean,
Yeah, well, they made a 6-button later, and that was a good controller as well.
yeah, the 6-button, it looks real similar to the Sega Saturn controller.
Yeah.
This is a second-party Sega Saturn controller. I got another one someplace. I got so many controllers down here.
A lot of wires, too. That's something I don't miss.
Yes, I feel like I'm in one of the Alien movies right now. Here's a Sega Saturn controller.
Yeah. Yep.
Old glory right here. One game I'm still looking for is Astal. If you got a copy and you don't want it, please send it to the Beastly Gamer.
You see that guy who just set the new Guinness Book of World Records for most video games?
Really?
Video game collection? Yeah.
Wow. No, I didn't see it.
Let me see if I can look it up real quick.
Well, I know I'm not even close, but you know, some people don't believe in keeping or holding on to your old stuff. I think that every part of your life creates the you of the future, and I like to be able to reminisce personally. I like to be able to go back and pick up a game that I played as a teenager and revisit that nostalgia, that feeling I had. I was in Reedinger Middle School in Akron, Ohio, when Donkey Kong Country came out, and back then there wasn't YouTube or internet stuff like that, and I read about it in a game magazine. It was one of the early EGMs. And I was like, oh, God, this is going to be incredible. I was working out of school. I was in the occupational work adjustment program. So every day after school, I get off early and I go to work. When I got my first or second check, I went straight to the store and bought Donkey Kong Country. That feeling, man, it was one of the best feelings I've had as a child gamer. That game changed my life. I couldn't believe the graphics on a Super Nintendo. It was mind blowing.
That was late in life too for the.
My kids now, when they look at stuff like Donkey Kong Country or Mario Kart or Mario World, they look at me like I'm insane.
Yeah.
It makes me feel bad, but you know what? I always make them play them, because if you don't understand the history of this stuff, you really are going to take it for granted. My daughter and my sons, they're growing up in the age of PlayStation 2 was out when my kids were born, Yeah. My daughter's 3. PlayStation 3 was out when she was born. They don't know anything about Nintendo, Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx 16, Sega Genesis, Game Boy. Game Boy was huge. You remember?
Yeah, that green screen that blurred like crazy.
I mean, and everybody had it. Everybody wanted it. 2 AA batteries and you're good to go. But yeah, I found 2 copies of Donkey Kong Country somewhere.
This guy, he's got 11,000 games.
Yeah, I can't compete with that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, he held on to it. There's some YouTubers who are always out with the old, in with the new mentality. Yep. There's nothing wrong with that. To me, I believe to each his own. But why not put up the old and in with the new? Why not store the old and in with the new? I was twitching last night, and a few people who were watching my live stream, Beastly Gamer, saw some of the stuff that I had, and they wanted me to show off some of the stuff on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to kind of, real quick, as quickly as I can, go through some of these old consoles and try to trigger some nostalgia in some of the viewers. Now, I know you guys remember this. PlayStation 1.
Mine spent the last half of its life turned upside down because the disk drive wouldn't work.
Yeah, everything that I'm showing here actually works with no hiccups, no issues. The only thing I'm not bringing out is one of my Nintendo 64s because I think my son's playing it right now. But a lot of people who were in line for the PlayStation when it came out, I got mine from Circuit City. Yes, Circuit City, that is now defunct and bankrupt. Yeah. And it came with this. The PlayStation 6. And this is the original demo disc, the very first demo disc that came with the PlayStation.
Show the back of that disc.
Say what?
Is the back of it black?
Yes.
Yeah.
And mint.
Ooh, look at that. Nice lighting.
Oh, you see it, huh? That's great. If I didn't have it, I'd turn into Dark Man. You know that. But I try to keep... This is a very special thing to me. I remember when I first got the PlayStation, and I just threw it in there, and I saw these games: Kill League, The DNA Imperative, Philosoma, Tekken, Jumping Flash, ESPN Games, Wipeout. When I saw these games, I was like, we're really here. It's really the next gen, and it blew my mind. And then we go on over to, where are we at here? The next iteration. Now, my big fat PlayStation 2 is no longer operational, so I don't bring it out. But I do have the Slim.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! The new model of the PlayStation 2 that came out, the latest model. And some of my favorite games for the PS2 are Odin Sphere. You guys remember this game?
That wasn't a very popular game. I bet there's a lot of people who don't even know about that game.
It's like Arrested Development. It's like a gem that somehow people didn't know. It's like Dragon's Crown. It's made by.
Was that published by Atlas?
Atlas.
Atlas, yeah. I think it got a limited release, and it was so popular that they re-released it.
This game is one of the best PS2 games I've ever played. This game blew my mind when it came out on PS2.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2.
That's the first console we saw the Grand Theft Auto series on too, or the newer Grand Theft Auto series, the 3D version.
We got a Sega Dreamcast here, guys.
Oh man,
the original with Typing of the Dead inside.
You got the keyboard too?
Yes, I do.
There were probably 2 years that was my internet machine. I used to browse eBay on my Dreamcast and order parts for my car.
You had the web browser disc. Yeah. I remember that crap.
Had a phone line running across my apartment.
I actually bought the Typing of the Dead about a year ago. When I was younger, it wasn't really on my radar.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, the typing skills got to be on point. So I told Kate about it, and she was like, "Are you serious? I really want to play it." So I went on and bought it and realized immediately how terrible I am at typing, and I put the keyboard up. But Kate's really good. Her sister, she works in a hospital. She's extremely good at the game. And some of my favorite Dreamcast games, believe it or not, Space Channel 5.
Yep.
With Ooh La La. Who remembers Ooh La La? She was a sexy reporter. We got Soul Calibur, which is one of the release games that completely destroyed the arcade version of the game.
That was an amazing launch game. I mean, it's got to be in the top 5 launch games of all time for any system. It was so good. And
it was a lot better than the arcade.
Yeah, that was the game that I booted up. I was like, hey guys, check out this new system I got. And like people didn't even, the Dreamcast was not on the mainstream radar. So like people would come over and like, what the hell is this? You know, we have a PlayStation. That Dreamcast, the Soul Calibur was just such an amazing game. It was so easy to pick up and play, but it also had real depth to it and just looked gorgeous.
Soul Calibur is one of my favorite fighting games of all time.
Yeah.
When it came out on Dreamcast, I would just sit and watch the theater mode and watch them stand there and play with their weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even a sports fan, but I had to get NBA 2K for the Dreamcast when it came out because I was walking through the mall down here in Georgia, and I saw it inside the game store on the screen, and I thought it was a real – it's funny now I think about it because how terrible it looks compared to, you know, football games now. But back then, I thought it was a real game. I walked around the corner, had to get it. Now, this game isn't one of my favorites, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people still hold it near and dear. Echo the Dolphin.
Echo.
For the Sega Dreamcast. This one is...
I didn't even remember. I thought that was a PlayStation game.
It was repurposed.
It was repurposed for a Dreamcast?
No, the Dreamcast is the original version.
Oh, and it was re-released on the PlayStation?
Consoles, yeah.
Oh, really?
That was Dreamcast Baby there.
Wait a minute. It came out for Genesis, though, originally, right?
Yeah, it was a Sega game. Sega Genesis.
Yeah,
Echo,
that's right.
Dolphin
Shenmue, that's near and dear to my heart.
You're the man. Of course, you would know about this. This is one of the best arcade, not arcade, RPGs of all time.
Yeah.
And Ryo, he just got released on Sega, what is it, Sonic Transform, the racing game. He's in that racing now.
Really?
They just announced it, yeah. I saw that. I was reading that today.
You still haven't showed my 2 favorite games for the Dreamcast, though.
Well, here's one of them here. I know it.
Yep. That game is phenomenal.
And what would the other one be? Because I don't know if I have it.
Grandia 2.
Don't have it. You know
man.
how that game is to find?
Oh, it's so good. I wonder if I still have my copy.
It's impossible to find.
It is so good.
that's my Sega Dreamcast and some of my favorite Sega Dreamcast games. Since we're on Sega, let's stick with Sega for a minute. Who remembers this gem?
Game Gear. I still got one in the closet.
Yeah, that's probably where it's going to stay. I got about 15 games for this thing, believe it or not. And for the time, it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it came out when the Game Boy was color-free.
Yeah.
And you know, it was fast, real floaty. My Uncle Donald came down and he had one in his car, and I was like 10 years old. I wanted to steal it from him. But yeah, the Sega Game Gear was a pretty good console. It didn't last too long.
No, it didn't. There weren't a whole lot of great games for it either. I remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and it had to be the worst Sonic game I ever played. It was bad.
I got it. Yeah, actually, Sonic on this Sonic Pocket Adventure on the Neo Geo Pocket Color is an incredible game. It's much better on here than it is on there, but the only problem is this thing is not backlit.
Yeah.
But the controls are good. I know you can't see anything. There's the light again. But it's a really fun game. It's the best, to me, one of the best portable Sonics. It really compares with like the 3DS or the DS Sonic games graphically, and as far as the way it controls, it was really fun. And a lot of people don't know what this is. This is called a Neo Geo Pocket Color made by SNK. And it's fairly rare, but I'm sure you can find them on eBay. We got the original. This is the best Game Boy Advance ever made.
The flip, yep.
The SP this was mobility right here.
Yeah.
You could have this thing anywhere. It was finally backlit. It was sleek in design. Then they made the retro version that looked like the Nintendo. It was great. And,
I had a cell phone that looked just like that.
Oh, yeah. Everybody had a cell phone like that. This is probably the most portable of the Game Boys. The Game Boy Advance Micro, right? Just for reference, here's my hand. This thing is tiny. The cartridges are that big inside of it, so it's really small. And when it came out, I guess it still is kind of like a gimmick. It's so gimmicky. You really got, if you don't have 20/20 vision, you're not going to have a good time with this thing.
No.
You know, I always squint, and I got 20/20 vision. It's so small, but I'm a collector. This is something I like to do. So I went out and grabbed one when I caught a deal at a place up in Ohio called The Exchange. Hey, guys, at The Exchange. Another Sega console that didn't fare too well because Sega has a history of not backing their consoles.
Yeah.
Oh, was this grandiose machine? The
Sega Saturn.
Yeah, this thing, believe it or not, it really had a lot of potential. It had a lot of potential. I mean, the graphics were almost on par with the PlayStation. It actually had a better rendering engine for 2D games.
Yeah, it was really built around 2D, and unfortunately for Sega, the industry was really moving into 3D. You know, games like Ridge Racer and the stuff that Sony was showing off in 3D was just really amazing. And Sega built that console around 2D, and it was amazing, and it was really beautiful. But I think they just kind of get left behind by where the industry was really heading, and they had lost a lot of trust with gamers with the 32X and the Sega CD.
It started with the Sega CD, which is a massive flop. I had my Sega Genesis. My buddies across the street, they came over and said, "Man, we got a Sega CD. You got to come see it." So me and my brother, we go running across the street to see this thing, and they had Sewer Shark in there.
Oh, God.
And I was like, this can't be real. This could not be a game. It had a little tiny screen with some full motion video in it, and they were controlling it. And I was like, oh, my God, we got to have it. I didn't understand really, how crappy it was. I was young, and I was like, this is new. But
they had real music, like actual music.
Yeah,
not like
MP3 sound, yeah. Sonic CD.
Sonic CD was a good game. I played, I never learned how to say this properly, but Vice, it's spelled with Y. Yeah.
Wise.
That game was really good. And that was the first time I ever got to play it was on the Sega CD. It was Lunar, I believe, came out. Lunar. Yeah, that was great.
Those came out on the PS2 too. I never played those games before. I played Wise. I got a couple of those on the PSP. but like the Lunar series, the collector's edition, I never played it. I was a little late coming to the RPG party, believe it or not. The first RPG I ever played was Final Fantasy. No, it was Shinmu. But the first traditional Japanese RPG was Final Fantasy VII. And then when I played that, it blew my mind. I didn't want to go back to the top-down Zeldas anymore.
Yeah.
See, when Zelda first came out, I didn't consider it an RPG. I thought of it more like an adventure game.
Yeah.
I played through the Nintendo iterations, Zelda 2, 2D. I played through all these different iterations, and so I was still thinking in the mind state of, it being an adventure game. And then when, these games, Lunar, come out, a little top-down, I was like, I'm in the PlayStation era. I don't want to move back to Nintendo graphics. And I was young. I didn't understand the depth of the games. But those games are probably some of the best games you could find out there, man. They're fantastic games.
The Genesis had some amazing role-playing games. Sword of Vermilion really comes to mind with the Genesis. Is that what that is right there?
Yes, sir.
Is that the Genesis? Oh, wait a minute. What is that? That's like the second generation Genesis.
Yeah, this is the second generation.
Fancy. Look at you with the second generation Genesis.
And this is the original Streets of Rage 2 that came with it.
That game was phenomenal.
Yes, it was. It's still one of my favorite games, man. I mean, they captured something in these original beat 'em ups. Final Fight. Streets of Rage did it better than anybody else.
That was the best beat 'em up. Streets of Rage 2. They never beat it.
What? Oh.
No. They never beat it. Like they never topped it as far as a good beat 'em up goes.
Well, Streets of Rage 2 was definitely the best. With Blaze, that was my character, the chick.
Yeah.
Skates in it. Alex. The game was.
Alex, I think Alex was Skate was the guy on skates, obviously.
Alex was the guy with the skin tight white shirt, blonde hair. Blaze was the chick, and then there was a big. I can't remember the big giant.
Yeah, the big giant dude. I like the dude on skates though. He was my favorite.
I always played with Blaze, man, and people have always asked me in any game I played with, why do I always play the chick? And see, as a kid, I got a lot of ridicule. They're like, "Oh man, you're a sissy. Why are you always picking a girl?
What do you want to spend your time staring at here?"
As I got older, it all came to me. I was like, I like how women look, right? So, chick and have her bending over picking up apples all day, then I'd rather do that than see some big masculine dude walking around punching people. And so always, for Streets of Rage, one of my favorite beat 'em ups, if not my favorite of all time. Streets of Rage 2.
Yeah. The first one was good too, but the second one was amazing.
They changed the dynamic. In the first one, you could actually press the C button to bring in help. The SWAT team would come.
Yeah.
The car would pull up. They'd shoot a rocket or shoot bullets, and it'd come down kind of like a Golden Axe style. It would hit the whole level. But in part 2, they give you your own super moves. And it was just a great game, man. I mean, I like to go back every now and then and get into this even now and, kill people. I think they re-released this. I think is it on the PlayStation Network? I want to say yeah.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it is, but we'll just play it on our Sega Genesis for now. But yeah, man, I love this game on Sega. On Sega Genesis, I love Sonic 1 and 2 on the Sega Genesis. I love Disney's Quack Shot on Sega Genesis. I love the Aladdin game on Sega
the Aladdin game. That was a good one.
That was almost like watching I couldn't believe that the animation was as good as it was, because Sega always kind of lagged behind Super Nintendo
in the graphics department. That played so tight too. It was such a fun game, and the graphics were great. The music was also really good in that game.
That kind of showed what the system was capable of, but nobody capitalized on it. I mean, they put in a lot of work on the Aladdin game. Now let's go over to a little bit of Sega's competition. Now this Super Nintendo works perfectly flawless.
Yep.
It's still got the silver color. It hasn't turned yellow. The weird thing is the only thing that has turned yellow are the controller ports.
Yeah.
It's like it had a tan on it or something. But this was one of my favorite consoles of all time.
Yep.
It'll always have a very special place in my heart. And let me go through some of my favorite Super Nintendo games. Now, I'm like I said, I love adventure games. When Donkey Kong Country came out, mind blown, official.
Yeah, that game was very late in the life cycle for the Super Nintendo, and it kind of kept it alive for a while.
That was the beginning of Rare. And Rare,
Yes,
they
that's right. Rare.
They came up with Donkey Kong and made a huge name for themselves. And they were bought by Microsoft later, and they were kind of pigeonholed into a position to make games that they didn't really want to make. And so that's why their name isn't as prevalent now as it was back then. But Rare is a hell of a development house. They have tremendous talent. Well, they did at least at one time. Yeah, I mean, when that game came out, the soundtrack. I still have the soundtrack on my iPod. Okay, I still got the soundtrack in my Android. I love the aquatic ambience. Just it had some of the best animation, the best sound, the best play mechanics. It was great, switching between Diddy and Donkey. Mortal Kombat. Now, this isn't everyone's cup of tea, but when Mortal Kombat 1 came out, I know a lot of you younger viewers are like, Mortal Kombat. When Mortal Kombat 1 came out, it was nationwide news.
It was. I mean, you had to put in the blood code. Remember the blood code?
Yeah.
Wait, they didn't even have it on the Super Nintendo. You had to have the Genesis version to get the blood code.
The blood code on the Sega Genesis is ABACABB.
He remembers it.
Yes, the blood code on the Genesis is ABACABB, and it unlocked the blood. And see, the thing was, it was either give or take, because one console had something better to offer than the other. For the Super Nintendo, the reason I stuck with the Super Nintendo, I had the Sega Genesis version too, but the reason I played with this more as a young man was the animation and the presentation of the game was very, very close to the arcade. The characters didn't look really small. The animation was there. The voices were there. They just didn't have the blood, and they changed some fatalities. The Sega Genesis version did have the blood. It did have the gore. You could rip out spines with Sub-Zero. And a lot of the guys back at that time, they thought the Sega Genesis, a lot of people still do, think the Sega Genesis version is better. Me, personally, I have to still think that the Super Nintendo version is better because of the overall presentation. Now, Mortal Kombat 2 came out on the Super Nintendo, and they stomped that foot in Sega Genesis' ass with this one. Because this one here had the blood. There was no code necessary, and it was a great, great game. This was nationwide news too, because at this time the ESRB rating system was just being created because of all the violence in games. They had a few full motion video. I mean, not full motion. I want to say motion captured arcade games that had a lot of violence. And, a lot of the politicians were going crazy saying that this is going to affect the mindset of the masses and have people running into the neighbor's house with machetes screaming fatality. But it never happened.
No.
And when this game came out, it smashed the Sega Genesis version and solidified it as the premium version for the consoles at that time.
So tell me you've got Street Fighter there. If you got Mortal Kombat, you got to have Street Fighter.
Come on, man. Which one are you talking about?
I'll take Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Super Street Fighter.
Man, I actually got 2 copies of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, man.
Yeah, that game, that to me was the Super Nintendo. I mean, there were some amazing games, but seeing that game come home and being able to play that was by far the most popular game on my Super Nintendo. Friends came over to play that. I mean, it was arcade. It looked arcade perfect, right? I mean, I remember lining up in the arcade to play this, and it finally comes home on the Super Nintendo, and it was stunningly good. And that controller had the 6 buttons to play it with, so there's nothing holding you back. It was such a fun game. It was totally original. You'd never played anything like it. You were used to beat 'em ups like Final Fight or the game you just showed for the Genesis. I can't even remember what it's called now. But Street Fighter, when that game hit for the Super Nintendo, it was a revelation. It was something we had never seen before. It was amazing.
When I first saw Street Fighter in the arcade, I was at a bowling alley in Canton, Ohio. Couldn't have been older than 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, this is a video? What? I put my quarter in and I didn't know. I think I played as Blanca. First guy I ever played with the first few times, just hitting the button trying to electrocute. But it was so exhilarating. And when it came out for Super Nintendo, this is the first time I ever, other than Ninja Turtles for the arcade. Ninja Turtles, when it came to Nintendo, that was the first time I felt that an arcade game actually came home. But this one right here, graphically, as far as the sound, the animation, the control, I feel like I actually had an arcade at home with this game. It blew my mind. And if you guys haven't had a chance to play it, I know it's a little dated now, but if you want to know the history of where these games are coming from, if you're playing games like Killer Instinct, if you're playing games like, the new Street Fighters, or, Street Fighter Cross Tekken or Soul Calibur, these games originated with this idea.
Yeah.
This game is what permeated all these ideas in fighting games. And then when Super Street Fighter came out with the addition of T-Hawk, Cammy, I want to say, I can't remember his name, the Bruce Lee lookalike, Fei Long.
Fei Long, yep. The super, yep.
Yeah, it was just a great game, a hell of an experience. I mean, the Super Nintendo was a hell of a ride for me as a kid growing up. Do you remember this? This is one of the hardest to find Super Nintendo games, and one of the best in my opinion.
Super Star Wars. Hell yeah, I played that one. I played all three of those, I believe. That game was friggin' hard.
This is the game, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this epitomized to me with an action adventure game was all about. Plus, you had the real story of the fantastic movies that took place, and these games went through all those stories, going to Tatooine, playing with Chewbacca, racing. It encapsulated all that entertainment, and it's great using the Force. I don't think it's better than some of the later Star Wars games. Need I say? Where's it? Yeah. This is the best Star Wars game ever made. Off the subject, but it's still.
That's a damn good game. The second one I thought was disappointing, but the first one was amazing.
Knights of the Old Republic blew my mind. It still does. And I think Kate wants to play that this year. I really had a good time with this game, believe it or not. Lion King.
Lion King. I never checked that one out.
It's a really good game. It's good on both consoles, Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. I was a teenager when Lion King came out, and I didn't pride myself on watching a lot of Disney animated movies, but I was stuck watching that thing over and over. I think I ran my mom's pay-per-view bill up quite a bit. I think I got my ass whooped. I watched it, without her permission, like 7 or 8 times.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the Lion King game was great. Now, this one here, I actually got it used, but it's Killer Instinct for the Super Nintendo. It's kind of scratched. Whoever owned it.
I didn't know that game came out for the Super Nintendo. I thought it was N64.
You serious? Oh,
yeah.
Man. Killer Instinct came out on Super Nintendo. It was the first Killer Instinct. The one that came out on the 64 was Killer Instinct Gold.
Okay.
And that was Killer Instinct 2 with Maya, Orchid, and I smashed that game. Come see me. Yeah, lucky it ain't online because I'll whoop y'all ass. Gamer. Yeah, Killer Instinct, Super Nintendo, man.
Well, you got to get an Xbox One and we can test that theory.
The best. I'll get you, Briarrabbit. That wouldn't be Call of Duty. But see, I haven't tried it. They just released Saberwolf as a free character too, correct?
I don't know.
Didn't they just release Saberwolf as a... Yeah, Saberwolf is free now. I don't know if that means that Jago is now... You have to pay for him? Because Jago was the original free character. Correct?
Okay. I don't know. I didn't keep up with the news on that game. I played the demo. Yeah, I think it was Jago. He plays like Ken and Ryu, right?
Yeah. And now Saberwolf is free. So they say that as time progresses, they're going to mix and match the free characters. I will have my Xbox One, and we're going to have some fun. Me and my sons were watching your latest Call of Duty Ghost video with Riley's kill cam. That was fucking hilarious.
Wasn't that ridiculous? Yeah. Let me set this up. In case you haven't seen it, right? It was just a kind of a regular free for all. And I killed this guy who's kind of camping on the floor. I just run by him, kill him.
He was there a couple of times, too. I mean,
yeah, he was.
3 times he was in the same spot, and you veered over to the left behind the crate so he couldn't get you.
Yeah.
He popped in the same way each time.
Yeah, so I kill him, and then in like a half a second later, the game ends. And I thought at first, I was like, did somebody catch me and beat me in the free-for-all? But then they show my kill cam, and it's my dog who is following me. I kill this guy. I come around the corner. I kill this guy. He respawns exactly where I came from, and my dog just runs up to him and kills him. Like, I honestly, I felt bad. I might stop using the dog.
that was absolutely hilarious.
It was.
Your skill in that game, you're not somebody to be messed with. If you guys are on Briarrabbit's friend list, please make sure he's on your team, because if he's not, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. This guy, man, that's where he kills him. The best SNES game ever. Oh, God, I got 2 in my hand. I'm going to have to mix that into 2. But a good runner-up would be Mario Kart.
Yeah.
SNES. This is one of the first kart racers. This paved the way for so many other games. Little Big Planet, kart racing, all the other Mario Kart games. Games like Wipeout, believe it or not, took the idea of the kart racer and just put it in the future where you get to fight your enemies. Destruction Derby. All these games kind of came from that idea. Now, these two games are two totally different genres, but I hold them both in high esteem and high regards. If you disagree with me, guys, I'm sorry, but my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time, and I have to put them about equal, is Super Mario World, which a lot of people love. The game has tons of replayability, and Super Castlevania 4.
Castlevania 4, I think you might find some fights about that one.
Super Castlevania? Oh, man. I love I'm a big Castlevania fan. I beat them all. Love them. And I'm a huge fan of the soundtracks. You know, when I'm at work, believe it or not, when I'm at work, I'm walking around. I got my, my uniform on. It says, of course it says, let me find it, Beastly on it, if I can find it. So I'm walking around and I'll have some old school Castlevania music playing, or I'll listen to Jumping Flash, the original soundtrack at work. Believe it or not, I'm just a weird, quirky guy. I'm passionate about it. But Castlevania, man, is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. I could play it every day, like Desert Island played. And I think the Super Nintendo had a hell of a run. It's one of the best consoles ever. And let's move on. What else do we got around here? Oh, I didn't even pull these out. Here are some of my favorite PS1 games.
Metal Gear.
Solid. I mean,
overrated.
You think so?
Overrated. Yeah.
No, you better take that back, sir.
Look, if I want to sit around and wait for people not to see me, I'll go hide in the mall or something. I don't want to do that in video games. There's nothing worse to me than stealth games. I can't stand them.
Well, this is the first of its kind, right? And it did so many things that were revolutionary at the time.
There were some cool things.
I never really cared, okay? And I got to give this recognition to my friend Akmal, a.k.a. Sid Kid. If you guys know who Sid Kid is, he's a world-renowned fighting game champion. He goes to Japan, all around the world. We grew up together. That's why I'm so good in Tekken. But he introduced me to this game, Metal Gear, and I was like, man, I don't want to play no stupid shooting guy. I mean, this is before Call of Duty or anything like that. No first-person shooters besides, like, Doom years later.
Yeah.
And when I played it, I was like, oh, God, this is ridiculous. It just, the play mechanic, the story, you actually felt the connection, the Snake, watching these people, Meryl, fighting Psycho Mantis.
Psycho Mantis was cool because it would read what other games you had.
And, of course, what he said to me was, you like playing Castlevania. I said, oh, my God, this is it's because he knew I was playing Castlevania. Mega Man 8. Now, this is the PlayStation... I forget what it's called now, but it's Greatest Hits.
Yeah.
I've had this for many, many years. I love the Mega Man games that are done right. Many of the more up-to-date Mega Man games take away the difficulty of the old. This one straddles the middle there, and you get some really nice animation, like some anime scenes, cuts in between. Soul Blade for PlayStation. This is the original. This is what created Soul Calibur, just in case people don't know. This game... They had me at the opening scene. I swear. I was at my dad's house. We were living across town, and we rented it. And after we rented it, I swear the next day we went and bought it. It was just so different. She actually looked like a real female's physique. I was like, I can watch this chick kick all day long.
How many times have I said that?
I mean, she had this animation where she spun around and she kicked her legs 3 times in the air. You could see everything. And those graphics were just insane. I was like, oh my God, this game is mine. And so this is where we honed our skills on Soul Calibur. This game is really hard to find. A lot of people don't even know it exists, especially the younger audience, but it's called Bust a Groove. Now this is the complete package with the manual, the front back case, mint condition. And it was made by 989 Studios. It's one of the first dance games where you can play against a computer or another player, and you put in the combination of the screen to bust a groove, and it was an amazing game. Akmal also showed me this. What's up, Sid Kid? I hope you're still kicking ass out there. And here is a game that I had to buy. I found it on eBay. It's so rare. I had to buy it without the case. So I got it inside these clear gem cases. It's a game called Psychic Detective.
I've never heard of that one.
This game is extremely rare. It costs a good penny. You probably won't find it anywhere less than $60 or $70. And it's a one-up on games like Sewer Shark. It's full motion video the entire game. You're a psychic detective who happens to be some goofy kid who looks like Shaggy, and someone gets killed, and you go to a party and you gotta interrogate people and use your psychic abilities to transport into other rooms and listen to stories and stuff. I've never beat the game, but I had so much fun with it as a kid. When I grew up, I said I'm gonna go ahead and find that game. I think it's worth having. What are some of your favorite consoles, Briarrabbit?
The Dreamcast, it holds a special place in my heart. Definitely the Super Nintendo was big. The NES, it was so early, but it was definitely like an amazing experience. And it's hard to look at those games and remember how stunning those graphics were. Like remembering watching those graphics for the first time and saying, "Whoa, look at how good this game looks." But the Genesis, I think it might be my number one. I remember playing Strider on that for the first time, and it looked amazing. It was so much fun to play too. It was just this fast action, side-scrolling, sword slashing. I don't even know how to describe it. It was just so much fun, and there were huge bosses with all this stuff happening on the screen. It was amazing. Yeah, I gotta say the Xbox 360 is in my top 5 as far as consoles have gone. That the online stuff was amazing on the 360. They supported it so well. The party system. It was the first time I brought a system home, and there was a reason to turn it on without having a game in it, and that was something significant.
Yeah, I believe it or not, I had my Xbox 360 for about a year before I even got Xbox Live. Because
really,
believe it or not, and I told my kids something today, and it's true about everything. If you think you've got something good and you haven't experienced something better, you don't really look for that. I told my son, I said, he was watching World's Best Restaurants or something last night on Netflix, and he told me that he thinks that a family member could make a better waffle than this place that was like in the world's top. And I said, well, look, Brett, you only have your own, experience, okay? And what you think is good might not even come close to what exists out there. And so at the time, I'm used to PSN, free. I'm used to, coming from Sega Dreamcast or the PlayStation 2 where you had to put a giant hard drive on the back. And when I saw the Xbox Live service, it became immediately clear to me that it was dominating anything else out there as far as the online community, as far as the abilities of the online service, the connectability, the connectivity of it, to be able to talk to people so freely, and everybody has a mic. The community and the service was so much better than what Sony had to offer at the time. And
the microphone was a big thing because everybody on there was talking. Even if you started playing Uno in Xbox Live, everybody was talking, and it became a way to just kind of hang out. And it's like social network. But the difference was that people weren't chatting in text bubbles. They were actually talking to each other and playing games together. I don't know. I thought it was amazing. I actually had Xbox Live for the original Xbox. I bought it for Mech Warrior. I think that was the game.
Did you have the big giant controller?
Yeah, Duke.
You did?
Yeah, I had Duke. I had an Xbox.
Oh, man.
I got the Xbox before that Controller S came out.
Yeah, that thing goes all the way around you, man.
What's that?
The controller goes all the way around you, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what it launched with. The S didn't come out until a couple years later, I think.
Wow. I didn't even know Xbox Live existed for the original Xbox.
Yeah, it did. Right at the end of it, and then obviously it really came into its own as a platform with the Xbox 360, but it was amazing. It was revolutionary. It still really is. I mean, playing games online, it's pretty cool that we could talk to each other over the internet, but we weren't doing this.
It didn't exist.
Yeah, it didn't exist. But Xbox Live, that launched, and you could do it with your game console. Xbox also launched with the wireless controller. I think that was the first time I saw a console launch with that, and that was really cool. I remember sitting on my couch with a blanket over my hands thinking, oh, yeah, this is the life.
Yeah, they came out they were out like a full year before the PS3, so they definitely revolutionized that.
Yeah.
I normally trash the Xbox One. I think they're doing a lot better than they were, but I have nothing bad at all to say about my Xbox 360. I think this is a fantastic console. It has bridged so many gaps. It has some great exclusives. I really love it, man. I had two of them, but when we got our fourth PS3, we decided to let one of them go. A buddy of ours asked us to sell him one, and so this is Old Faithful here, you know. But the Xbox definitely worth its weight in gold as far as gaming goes, as far as the revolutionary way that it introduced itself, especially with the Xbox Live. Because if you had Xbox Live on the original Xbox, it was a different kind of beast on the Xbox 360.
Oh, yeah, totally. You know, my biggest problem with the Xbox 360 would probably be the earlier, well, even the early to mid reliability problems. That thing would overheat and just die on you. I sent a couple of them back to Microsoft for repair. I ended up buying 3 or 4 of them over the lifetime of the system, and
wow,
I was a little scared going into the Xbox One as to if they could really produce hardware and make it reliable, because that was annoying to me. That costs a lot of money. You know, I still wanted to be playing the games. I still wanted to be playing the system, but I was like, hey, you know, how much money am I going to spend on these things?
So now you got the Red Ring of Death?
Yeah, Red Ring of Death. Yeah.
Oh, did you ever do any of the fix it yourselves, like the pillow trick or any of that crap?
I did the heater, like a heat gun into the vents, which I actually did with my PS3 when that died too. I had a PS3 die, and I didn't replace that right away because I just wasn't playing it. I didn't get a new PS3 actually till this summer. Last summer.
I got, let me see, 1, 2. I got this PS3 here. That's one of my originals. I got.
Yeah, that's the big boy. Yeah. Mine died. You know, it just bit the dust.
I got this one here, and I got this is the slim.
That's the medium slim, right?
I got 3 more back there. I got one in my son's room and 2 in my room. Yeah, I'm ridiculous when it comes to this stuff. So we have 5 here. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of them actually gets pretty loud. And I think I know why. It's inside of an entertainment center in my room that opens up. It's like a vanity, and it opens up, and the TV's in there, and you know, it kind of keeps itself closed. And I think some nights when we close it up, we don't realize it's on, and then I wake up a couple hours later, I sound like a midget whistling or something somewhere in the room, and I open it up, and you feel that burst of hot air come out. Overheating, man. It's ridiculous.
I've been actually, for the last couple of weeks, I've been sourcing computer fans for my home entertainment center so I can start exhausting heat out of the back of that thing.
I actually got a PlayStation 3 and an Xbox One fan to go on the back, but I never used them, which is probably
like snap-on ones that go on. Yeah.
They click onto the back of the consoles, but I never use them. I got them in the box in there.
Yeah, I want to install like the fans in the entertainment center, like at the top, so it's actually blowing out the back of the entertainment center, so it keeps the entertainment center cooler. So there's new fresh air coming in.
There was a picture that was posted on Facebook, I think last year, of a great entertainment system with the entertainment center with like 30 consoles underneath the TV.
Yeah, now we're talking.
That's what I want. But,
and I want a splitter so I can have them all hooked up to the Elgato.
Yeah. Oh. Man, that'd be sick. This here is one of my favorite consoles of all time.
Yeah.
And it has the, man, believe it or not, man, I'm trying to remember. I think it's Machinima. No, it was BuzzFeed. They just did Xbox One versus Nintendo 64 today, and the 64 won.
Of course it did.
Oh my goodness! And they were like, Xbox One comes with all these games. They said, well, the 64...
Xbox One?
Yeah.
Wait, the original Xbox or Xbox One?
Xbox One!
It's got 5 games.
Yeah, that's it. Xbox One comes... the release games are Rise, Dead Rising. It went through all the games. It said, the Nintendo 64 came with this. It said Pilot Wings, this game. And it said, but Xbox One didn't have this game. When goes to Nintendo 64.
Mario 64, man.
Man, this is... Oh, classic.
GoldenEye. All you got to say about N64 is GoldenEye.
First-person shooter heaven. It started it all. I mean, it really brought it into the modern age. Because before that game, we had games like Wolfenstein, we had games like Doom, that really didn't revolutionize the first person. It was a first person shooter technically.
Yeah.
When GoldenEye came out, it was fast, it was accurate, it was intense, it was multiplayer. It kind of was the breeding ground for what we have now.
Yeah.
And that's one game I don't have.
Actually, the first time I played a first-person shooter on a console was on the 32X. I got Doom for the 32X, and I thought that was revolutionary at the time. But GoldenEye blew that out of the water.
We only got the 32X for Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah.
Because we were used to, the Sega Genesis version, Super Nintendo version, and this version was touted as arcade perfect, which it was really close. But man, when we had to set that thing up and put little metal prongs inside the Sega Genesis first, and then slide it in there, and then when you got that game, and you realized there was like 4 other games, it was terrible, man.
Yeah.
They didn't support it.
No, it didn't sell. You can't. Yeah. Banjo-Kazooie.
Adventure game heaven, for those who don't know, check it out. Banjo-Kazooie, man, it revolutionized just platforming, adventure games. It's probably what Donkey Kong 64 wanted to be, but it couldn't have been. It's a great game. You remember this game? It came out with the Sega Dreamcast release, and it went all across platforms. And everybody thought it was great.
Rumble, yes, ready to rumble.
It was really it was so different, man. And this is I got 2 of these too.
What was the name of the guy on the cover there? Afro something.
Afro Thunder.
Afro Thunder. It was the only guy I ever wanted to play with. The guy's name is Afro Thunder. He's gonna be the best character in the game, obviously. We used to play that a lot on the Dreamcast. What's that?
This game
Yoshi's Story. Okay.
For the 64, this is one of the better Nintendo 64 games. Great platforming. These 2. This one here has a love-hate relationship with most of the world. Like 50% of gamers love it, and 50% absolutely hate it. They loathe the game. And it is Castlevania Legacy of Darkness. This is actually the special edition that came out after the original Castlevania for 64 came out.
Was that the 3D one?
Yeah. My brother loved it. I didn't love it quite so much. I have it now because it's a collector's item, and it's good to be able to look back and say, look at these shitty graphics, But at the time, people were really going nuts over it. This is probably one of my favorite 64 games. You mentioned it earlier.
Killer Instinct Gold. No kidding, you were a big fan of Killer Instinct, huh?
Yes. That's why I remember I was driving in Akron, Ohio last year, and some news came on. It said Microsoft was trying to secure the rights to the name Killer Instinct. I looked over at Kate and I said, what the hell are they doing this for? I said, why would they want the name Killer Instinct? It's not like they're going to make Killer Instinct, right? Shows what I know.
Yeah.
With Killer Instinct. And, man, a lot of people are they love that game. I think
a lot of people are saying this is the best Killer Instinct they've ever made by a long shot.
Really?
Yeah, like by a long shot.
Wow, but they haven't even released all the characters, right? I don't think they have.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I know that they're doing kind of like you can buy different packages to get different sets of characters. I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Now, a minute ago, we talked about the Sega, Sega Dreamcast release game, Soul Calibur. I think that PlayStation 2 had a hell of a release game, too, here. Tekken Tag.
Tekken. I didn't like Tag as much as I liked Tekken, was it 3 or 2 that I played a lot of?
3,
I can't remember which one it was, but I didn't like the tag mechanic. It was, I don't know, there was something about it I didn't dig.
Used to, but see, we grew up playing it, and we played against some of the best people in the world in it, right? And so I'd go like the mall, and they'd have a little the kiosk for you to play somebody, and I'd stand there for 45 minutes and have to just leave. Because destroy everybody. That's a hell of a feeling. Some of the best PlayStation 2 games, I think. You got Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Keyblade behind me, for those who don't know.
There's a new Kingdom Hearts coming out soon, isn't there?
Yeah, for the
3DS?
Xbox One and PS4. Kingdom Hearts.
Really? It's coming out for the next-gen consoles?
This is the original Kingdom Hearts, actually. The one I just showed you was Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And I got 2 copies of this. Way to go, eBay, right? One of my favorite Final Fantasies on PlayStation 2 is Final Fantasy 12, guys. This game had some awesome music. This is the collector's 10 edition. The soundtrack was great. They added a new play mechanic in this game where you could actually pre-program all your party to do anything that you wanted if they came in contact with an enemy. So I got to the point where I just walk around, and if I ran into a boss or a really strong enemy, they would all assume a particular formation and do certain things. And like now, I still have my memory stick too. I could put it in there, turn it on, and walk around the whole game, and they would just destroy anybody, steal stuff on command. It's really awesome the way they changed the dynamic here. And one of the greater PS2 games, the original Devil May Cry.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, Part 2 was crap, but the original was a really great game. What do you think about this console, or should I say these consoles? What do you think about the GameCubes?
That is really where Nintendo lost me as a customer. I bought it, but they started to lose third-party support with the GameCube, and they didn't really support it well, I thought, with their first party either.
The GameCube was never one of my favorite consoles.
No.
I can't really name off the top of my head any games on it that I really, really liked other than this one. This is the only GameCube game that's a must-have. You probably know what it is.
Eternal Darkness?
That's a great game, but it's not, to me, Smash Brothers is definitely the best. Eternal Darkness they're supposed to be remaking that, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know how it'll look on the Wii U now. Wii U!
I remember Eternal Darkness was pretty cool, just because of all the mind tricks that played on you. Like, you'd do like a blue screen of death, or all of a sudden you'd have to play the game upside down. Also, the Resident Evil remake was really good for that system.
Resident Evil 0?
Yeah, that was good.
I don't have that, man. I actually had the opportunity to grab it. I was right in front of it, and I looked, and she was like, we can just get it next time. I was like, all right, let's get out of here. I got a couple of these, too, these PSPs.
Yep.
This is the 1000. These two right here are 3000s. And I had a hell of a good time with these consoles, believe it or not. I bought the original PS Vita when it first came out, and I think it was $350. And
the PSP or the PS Vita?
PS Vita, the PSP.
Yeah.
No, it might have been $269. I know it was over $200. And I bought it in GameStop. I went and sat in my car and didn't have any really good release games, and you had to go through hell to put a movie on it. And
yeah.
But as time progressed, it became a really fun console for me.
That had the disc movies. Remember you could buy movies on disc for that console.
Yeah, the UMD, the Universal Media Discs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just for you guys who don't know, I collect this stuff. This is my life here. This is my life's work. I mean, I love gaming. I mean, I absolutely love it. It makes me feel good about myself. I got my PS4 here. Of course, I've been giving this thing a lot of play lately, the PlayStation Vita. And now here you're considering getting one.
Man, I'm on the fence about this. I keep going back and forth. Like the remote play.
To sprinkle any seeds of thought in your mind, but right now it's a much better time to get one than it ever has been. They got a price drop. They actually got games. They got games that are decent. I mean, Killzone Mercenary, really good game. I think the story in it is better than the one on PS4. The graphics are great. It's just about as good as the PS3 in graphics. You got 4-on-4 multiplayer. I mean, it's really good. Tearaway, it was getting all 10s everywhere. I still haven't
that game looks fantastic. Guacamelee, I keep hearing about too. I was looking at some video of it today, and that game speaks to me on like that Metroid Castlevania level, and the graphic style is so original. It looks like a lot of fun.
Broken Games, I think he had a video of Guacamelee today. It was crazy. I was flipping through my subscriptions. I went to you and checked out your new stuff, and then I went right below you to Broken Games. He was playing Guacamelee right after you said that. That game's a really nice platformer. The graphics are clean and new. The graphic style is in the same style as the game Shank. You ever played that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's those kind of graphics, and it looks really good on the PS Vita too.
Yeah. And I think that you got to get this PS Vita, I think, now while it still has a good screen, because I think they're going to update this thing soon and put a cheaper screen into it. They're going to lower the price, but they're also going to put the cheaper screen in it.
Yeah, and what I hear,
I think it's time to get it now.
The chassis, the body of the new PS Vita doesn't feel as sturdy either. Yeah,
really?
It doesn't have the OLED screen anymore. They said the colors aren't as bright and vibrant. It still looks pretty sharp, but overall you're going to lose a lot of graphic capability in that screen. It's noticeable if you have them both side by side. I actually saw a Japanese comparison video of the two screens both running the same thing, and it was easy to tell which one was the OLED versus the new.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to pick one up pretty soon. I think there's enough games finally, plus the remote play stuff on the PlayStation 4 looks really interesting to me. I like, the idea of being able to like kind of lay in bed and play games like I used to with...
It's virtually latency-free, man.
Yeah.
Even games like Call of Duty, the latency issue that persisted with the PSP, like you can do remote play on this thing. But but it didn't do remote play for PS3 games, which is just ridiculous. It only did remote play on certain PSN games and the PlayStation 1 games that were released on the PS3. But even playing those, the latency issues were ridiculous. With the Vita, playing online in Call of Duty or Battlefield or Killzone, latency does not even exist. And games like Call of Duty that have that utilize both triggers, they actually have they built in two buttons on the screen for you to touch. So like if you want to throw,
that's all right. I don't throw grenades at Call of Duty Ghosts anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely you just kill people. So you just kill people. My son, I swear, I had to tell him to close his mouth because he's a kid, and when we're young, you're not really as concerned about your image. But I was looking at him, he was watching your video, he was like this. I said, Brett, close your mouth. He said, Dad, he's awesome. I said, yeah, I know he's awesome. Close your mouth, son. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You should have him check out like Randy Savage or somebody like that. These guys.
I've never even heard of him.
Oh my God, he's phenomenal.
Really?
He runs around and makes people just look stupid.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say what Kate said, and she might be right, because lately, for those out there, I'm sure you probably know who Woody's gamer tag is. He's a big COD player. He's a really good COD player, all-around good guy. But he hasn't been playing Ghost like he should, if you ask me. Because a lot of people that I know haven't been up on his videos as much because he does a lot of Minecraft, and Minecraft doesn't resonate with a lot of players, especially if you're a big COD player. It's probably hard to turn right around and like Minecraft just as much. So a lot of people haven't been tuning in, but lately he's been doing a lot more COD videos. But from the looks of things, man, you're better than him. Kate said that, and I had to agree with her. You are more of a no-nonsense guy. I mean, he survives a lot, and he gets long streaks, but you've been fucking destroying people, and it's ridiculous watching you play, man. I'm like, God, I'm happy he's one of my buddies, man, because you are an animal in that game. You should be really proud of yourself. Your hand-eye coordination is on point, man. It's fucking awesome. I love watching your gameplays. I love playing the game, too. But, man, I love watching you play. You destroy people.
Have you been playing Call of Duty Ghosts lately?
We played, I don't think I played at all this weekend.
No.
This weekend I did a couple uploads yesterday. I did a Satanism in video games video.
I saw the title of that, and I clicked it to start watching it, but then I got your text message to start the hangout, so I didn't get to watch the end of it. What the hell are you talking about? Literally, hell.
It's that's what I'm talking about, hell. It's really weird. I actually wanted to do that video a while ago, like when I first started my channel. I got this game called Mud on PS3. And a lot of people don't know, but this hand signal actually has deeper meanings than what people think it does. I talked about Anton LaVey, who is the founder of the Church of Satan, bald guy with a goatee.
You see him on documentaries all the time.
He, in his book, The Satanic Bible, he actually explains what this means, and it's like a satanic incantation. And a lot of these rock stars use it a lot, believe it or not. Ozzy Osbourne used it. He made a song called Mr. Crowley, and a lot of people don't know who Aleister Crowley is, but he was one of the biggest Satanists of all time. He started the OTO Lodge. He was a member of the Freemasons. He was one of the highest decorated Freemasons of all time. The Beatles had him on the cover of one of their albums. This stuff is really deep, and this game in particular I was talking about that the footage is on, the only character you're able to pick at the beginning is a guy with a skull down here in front of him doing this, right? And so I was like, well, I wonder if this has anything to do with Satanism, because whether or not people believe in it or not, some people do, and it's on both sides. Some people believe in God, some people believe in the devil. And so I was wondering if maybe these game developers might have this dark belief, right? And so I'm playing the game, and I click this guy because he's the only pickable character. And then his bike's number is 666. I said, oh, get out of here. Come on. And so I just made a video on that, and I was asking people, is it possible? Because I'm the kind of person, I can't say anything's not possible because I don't know everything. It's like, to me, the only kind of person to say no, it's not possible is someone who's done extensive research in a particular field. If you just live in your everyday life and you're going to work, you can't tell me what's going on in outer space. You can't tell me what's going on in the mines. You don't know. You only have an opinion. But that's why I'm just asking, do people think it's possible that there could be this dark cabal or this dark mindset corrupting people? I've seen crazy Illuminati stuff in video games. I've seen like the Halo thing. I forget which Halo it was, but at the end when it went off, it said something crazy and cryptic. I was like, really? It said, thank you for helping us control the world or something. I was like, what the hell?
That's Bungie's mission statement, I think. It's like, it's kind of like Google's. It's like they have a bunch of things like, do no harm and take over the world.
It's crazy. See, I do a lot of research into this stuff because I'm kind of a spiritual person. And it's kind of, people might say it's an oxymoron to say this, but I'm very spiritual, but I'm not very religious because I don't know everything. And see, most people who get involved in religion usually regurgitate the thoughts of their parents.
Yeah.
That's really what happens. You grow up, your parents teach you something, it becomes your faith, and you persist with that thought. And so I come from the school of thought that maybe my parents are wrong in as far as religion goes, or your parents might be wrong, but the truth of it is if you are spiritual at all, you believe in a higher power or a creator. So I'm not going to call him a particular name because a religion says that's his name, because it might not be. So I try to stay spiritual, but not so much religious. But something else I saw in that game that I didn't even talk about was it was promoted by the drink Monster.
Yeah, sure.
The energy drink, and the energy drink, the 3 claws that come down.
Yeah.
And Hebrew is the first language ever introduced to man. It was the first language that we as people on the planet Earth ever knew to write Hebrew or speak. And in Hebrew, those 3 lines are numbers, and they're 666.
Oh, nice.
A lot of people don't know this stuff, but see,
I didn't know that.
I play games. I love my games, but if I don't learn it and at least try to teach some of this stuff to my kids, then they won't learn it or they won't want to learn it. So I kind of have a thirst for knowledge, a thirst for information, and whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but at least I try to learn something. And that's why my video basically just asks people, what do they think about this kind of stuff? Is it possible that all these singers doing this all at the same time, looking through the pyramid with the eye, right? That's the same thing as on the back of the dollar bill, but Jay-Z calls it the rock. There's no rock that's shaped like a pyramid. Aleister Crowley, he said that that's a symbol of Satan. It's in his book, Magic and Theory and Practice. He said that's a sign of Satan. And you see Lady Gaga doing it, Beyonce doing it. You got Kanye West doing it. He got the Horus shoe. It's a $2,000 shoe he made with the eye on it. It's like, if me and you were artists, right? Hypothetically, this is the last thing I'll say on this subject because people want to learn about this stuff. Look it up. But hypothetically, you and I are artists, and art, it goes across many different genres and dimensions. So say, for instance, you got your own portfolio and I got my own portfolio, and we meet and we want to, show each other our showcases. So I'll open up mine and I'll show you my stuff. You open up yours, you show me your stuff. It's going to be completely different, correct?
Yeah.
Because our minds are different. I consider art is not what you consider art, and so it'd be very different. We might have inspiration from each other, but there's no way we'd have the same thing. My question is, how in the hell are all these rappers and singers all talking about the same stuff?
Yeah.
How are they all talking about worshiping money? How are they all talking about this, one eye, holding up this symbol, covering your eye on every album cover because it's the one eye?
Yeah.
It's like they're all channeling it from the same place. And it's not what an artist would do. It's almost a scientific impossibility. So it's like, these questions hit me all the time. And I'm like, how in the hell is nobody asking this? How are all these artists talking about the same crap?
Yeah.
And it's like everybody's like in a spell. And see, every time we do BC Thoughts, it always gets out there somewhere. And today, I guess this is where it went. Yeah, that was the whole purpose of that video. But I also did the new one on Time and Eternity, which is 35 minutes long, and basically it's no talking from me. It tells the story of what's happening in the game. It shows a little bit of the play mechanic, and kind of what you can expect out of the game. And I think a lot of people will find that very interesting, especially those out there who like anime.
I can't understand a damn thing that happens in anime.
Oh man, you've been watching the wrong. You've been watching hentai.
I'm pretty sure I understand what's going on there.
It's not real anime, man.
I'm pretty sure I understand what's happening in there.
Look, I feel like I was holding an Xbox One, man. Look.
You can tell that's the original Xbox because it's much smaller.
Yeah. Is it really?
I don't know. That thing is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to think the Xbox One is bigger than this.
Yeah.
But this thing is huge.
That thing was cool looking when it first came out, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about the Xbox, but when it came out, everybody was talking the same shit that they talk now about the Xbox One, how big it is.
Yeah.
But see, I don't think the original Xbox had a big power brick, though. So that was another thing.
And I only had one of them for the whole life of the system. I didn't buy 6 of them because they kept breaking.
That's my original, man, and it still hums like a bird. It doesn't hardly make any.
It had a hard drive in it. That was a pretty revolutionary feature. I was actually using that as a jukebox at one point. I was loading CDs in the CD tray, loading and like burning them to the hard drive inside the Xbox.
That was the
and
first
using it like a jukebox.
It was the first console that did it.
Yeah.
Here's a game over here that I absolutely love. It's called XSN Links. It's a golf game, and see, I'm not really a big golfer, but it looked great. And you could actually listen to your own soundtrack. You know, you could put your CDs in, burn them to the hard drive, and you could listen to it. That was when I first started getting into Utada, the Japanese singer who sings the Kingdom Hearts theme.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's my favorite singer of all time. I mean, she made a few albums here in America that flopped, but her Japanese stuff is great and it's meaningful. Whenever she tries to do music here in America, she tries to jump on that Western imperialistic "me love you long time" crap.
Oh,
and
really?
her album always flops over here. But the last one did okay, but her Japanese music is great. And I used to play on XSN Links and just go into the zone playing golf, listening to her music. But on the Xbox, this is my favorite Xbox game.
Yeah, that game was amazing.
Jade Empire was.
That was a great game too. That was the same developers who made Knights of the Republic. That was a really fun game. I mean, it had a great storyline. The characters were really interesting. I really enjoyed that game. I might have enjoyed that more than I did Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, they're close. Jade Empire, I think this was the precursor to Mass Effect. It just the gameplay mechanic, the communications, all that stuff just worked out so well, and you could kind of see where they got the inspiration from Mass Effect, from really both of these games. And of course, Halo 1 and 2. I mean, I had no idea what Halo was until I forget which one of my buddies actually had it. It was years ago, I can't even remember. But they had the 4 controllers, and we all sat down and started playing it, multiplayer local, and my mind was blown. I said, this is it. This is the future right here.
The single player was amazing too in that game. It was the first time you really saw these huge battlefields with all these enemies on them. There was tanks coming at you. You could just jump in these tanks. There were the warthogs rolling around. The enemies felt like they were real enemies. They felt like they had their own agency and they could think for themselves. And it made it difficult. I mean, they were just as strong as you were. Well, some of them were. And exploring with the Warthog, they opened that game in such a grand way. It was a stunning game. And then the first time you check out the multiplayer, you're like, oh wow, this is cool. And it took forever for Halo 2 to come out, so they finally put that thing on. Was it Halo 2 was the first one that came with multiplayer, online multiplayer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Halo 2, right? Yeah. I mean, there were hacks that you could actually get the Xbox online with and play multiplayer original Halo. There were some hacks. You had to connect them. Yeah, I can't remember what you had to do, but I tried it a couple times and it worked.
You just said hacks, and it took my mind to a completely different place. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever played DayZ?
DayZ? No, I haven't. I've checked it out online, and I'm like, if I wanted to run around for a half hour and not see anything, I'd go play Warcraft.
I said, you go to the mall. Man, believe it or not, the zombie genre is my favorite genre as far as horror movies and things that really scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since I was a kid, when I first saw Romero's 67, Night of the Living Dead, it's always it's hit me in a crazy place. It scares the hell out of me. This game, I think, if it comes to consoles, is going to be ridiculous. And if it comes out on the Steam machine, that right there will be a reason for me to drop $500.
Are you still talking about DayZ?
Yes.
What? There's, I don't know, man. I'm watching people play this online,
Yeah,
and like they walk around for a half hour not doing anything. I'm like, why am I even watching this?
It's the possibilities of what could happen. I was watching somebody's YouTube video a few days ago, and the way it started off, he was getting something out of the car, and it's so realistic, man. It's like if you find a car that's broken down, you can find out what's wrong with the car.
Yeah.
Go find the parts, come back, fix it. You know, you gotta bandage your wounds, all kind of crap. But he was walking down the hill, and he noticed somebody looking at him, and as he got closer to the guy, he had a shotgun out, aiming at him. And so he walked. You know, the guy said, "Come over here." You could hear the guy talking through his mic. He said, put your hands on top of your head. So the player, he put his hands up, and I was thinking, don't put your hands up. You know, if he's going to kill you anyway, why not just try to kick his ass? So the guy put his hands up. He said, no, put your hands behind your back. And so he put his hands behind his back. I was like, wow, this is awesome that you can actually do this in this game. He put his hands behind his back, and so the guy walked behind him. He still had his gun out. Then he put his gun down, and he pulled out some handcuffs. Then he put the handcuffs on him. So the guy who was actually playing the game is getting handcuffed. And so he's thinking, okay, this guy's going to rob me. Because bullets are very hard to find. If you get lucky and find a gun, more than likely you're not going to find bullets anytime soon. The best you can do is feign that you have bullets and scare somebody into taking their stuff. So this guy put his gun up, he handcuffed him, pulled out a hatchet and started killing him.
Oh, man.
And the guy, he sounded so nonchalant. He said, well, there's one way you can go about it. I said, this game is fucking awesome, man. I mean, it's not like The Walking Dead, because when you go places, there is this fear element of these infected constantly running around. I mean, if they see you, they're chasing after you. You got to really run, book it out of the way.
Yeah.
But the human element is worse, because you really get to see to me, what I think it would really be like. I mean, you might have a friend in real life or an acquaintance, but if this shit was going on, that person might end up killing you and taking your sandwich. You know, and that's what happens in this game.
Sandwich.
I mean, really. I think it's going to be a really great game. It's still
Basically stole my lunch money.
What do you expect me to do? It's a zombie apocalypse, man. But if it comes out, I mean, there's been rumor and speculation. The developer of the game, the guy who actually did the original mod of Arma, said that he would like it to be a PlayStation game. If it comes on PS4, I think it'll be amazing.
This was standalone. You don't have to patch Arma. You don't have to buy Arma to get this. You can buy it standalone, which is a big improvement over the first one, because the first one, a lot of people had a lot of trouble trying to get it running, especially if they bought Arma through the Steam store. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I understand the appeal of it. I also understand the appeal of games like Warcraft and Metal Gear Solid. Not every game's for everybody, though. I don't like games where I have to sit around and wait. I like games that I have action all the time, because, you know, that's what I'm into.
You like the action. Yeah, I'm not a Warcraft guy. I love Metal Gear. I think I've beaten them all.
Yeah.
It's kind of got a hold of me, you know. Kind of the same way a lot of people say they have to have an Xbox because it's a part of what they are, I guess. But I think that game, I mean, it's doing, in your words, what is it, Jailbusters? I'm trying to remember. Gangbusters. Everybody's buying. Everybody loves this game.
Yeah.
And I think it'll do really well, especially after the beta comes out and they work out some of the kinks. And potentially, if you see it coming to the Xbox One or PS4, you might like it if it comes out, demos, beta, but we're talking way down the road. On to other news. The Steam machine has announced a $499 box. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I heard about it. Here's the thing, right? Is it still going to come with that controller?
I would think it is. This is actually on SteamFirst.com. It says, folks, in only a couple of days there will be an explosion of Steam machine news coming from CES in Las Vegas. While most information is already known, what is not known is who plans on selling their own Steam machines and for what price. First one out the gate should be the one by iBuyPower. They plan on making a Steam machine for around the price of a PS4 and slightly smaller. Around the size of the PS4, I'm sorry, and slightly smaller than the Xbox One. That will include a multi-core AMD CPU, 500 gig hard drive. We are not sure if this is the SSD, but doubtful. Wi-Fi, built-in, Bluetooth, and an AMD Radeon R9 270 graphics card. The card alone costs $180 if you buy it outright. If this all pans out and you can get these specs for just $499 price, Valve could very well pull major sales away from the Xbox One. That is news today from SteamFirst.com.
I'm interested in the Steam box. I don't think I'm gonna be a day one adopter of this thing because I really want to know what that controller is all about. The touchpad thing looks, it looks new, and new things are definitely, anybody's gonna be a little skeptical of a touchpad. The only people that have ever pulled it off to this point are Apple. They're the only people that I know of that can make a touchpad that doesn't feel like garbage. So Steam having these two touchpads instead of thumbsticks, I'm not sure why they wouldn't just do thumbsticks. I guess, maybe if you're going to be able to play these games multiplayer against people who have a mouse and keyboard, maybe they think they need a little more accuracy and a little more sensitivity. But I think it's going to be that to me is the biggest question. Also, at $500, now you're competing with the Xbox One, you're competing with the PS4. You have a huge library of games already, and all of these games apparently are going to be able to run on the Steam box, and that's a huge plus because right now, if you're looking for new PlayStation 4 games or Xbox One games, you're out of luck. You're playing your PlayStation 3 and PlayStation or Xbox One or Xbox 360. So the Steam box launching with Steam is a huge plus. But that controller just scares the hell out of me. I just don't know if it's going to be any good. I'm waiting to hear some reviews on people who've used it.
Yeah, it's out right now, but I'm sure it's under embargo, so a lot of people can't talk about it. But
yeah, I've seen some stuff go up and then get pulled down like right away.
My thoughts on the controller are this: that they're trying to bridge that gap between console control and PC control. Who knows? It actually might be something special. The fact that Valve has all this money. And they've got such a great service in Steam, they've got some smart people working there. They've got to have some really intelligent people working there. And just for the layman looking at the controller, 90% of people who've never touched it would say, I don't want to touch this shit. Get out of here.
I also don't know, can you plug an Xbox 360 in? You can play a lot of games on Steam with an Xbox 360 controller. And can you plug a mouse and keyboard into the Steam box if you just want to put the thing on your desk, hook it up to a monitor on your desk? I'm wondering, I don't know a lot about these peripheral questions, and that's the kind of stuff that's actually fairly important to me buying this thing. If I can play all those Steam games with a $500 box with a mouse and keyboard and an Xbox 360 controller, that makes it a lot more attractive to me. That way, I'm not just waiting to see how good this one controller is going to be.
And it also sounds like Valve is releasing this console through different producers. It's just really crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. That reminds me of the 3DO.
Yeah, Panasonic. Yeah. Who knows how it's going to work? I think it'll be at least a fantastic console as far as power-wise because it'll be able to play all these games, even the cross-platform games, on max PC settings.
Yeah.
That's something that the PS4 and the Xbox One are going to have a lot of trouble doing, especially as time progresses and these systems get updated. Who knows how well this system will be able to update, if it's able to at all. But am I going to run into
driver issues? And that's what I don't like about PC gaming. That really is what it comes down to. Is I don't want to spend, I don't want to buy a game and then spend the next 3 hours trying to figure out how to make it run with my graphics card. And if there's 18 different manufacturers making these boxes,
you're gonna have major
with all different video cards in them. Is that what I'm in store for? I don't want any part of that.
It sounds like it'll be a lot of confliction there if they've got so many different companies developing the consoles. Yeah. And PC does have major issues as far as updates and things of that nature. So who knows? And plus, all this stuff is being repurposed for Linux.
Yeah.
So, it's an uphill battle, but if they're able to nail this thing, I think it could be great for the gamers, for us. I'm not really a PC gamer. I know there's a lot of shit on PC that I've never even experienced that will blow my socks off. If they're able to get this thing up and running and reach out for people like me, it might be worth having.
My guess is that it's going to be a slow burn, but if they show gamers that there's value here, that this thing is good, and you can play it your way, and you can spend what you want to spend on the box. I see that there is an avenue for success there. But I don't see it jumping out of the gate like selling millions of consoles. I just don't see it happening because there's just too many questions. People are, I don't know. We'll see. You know, I had no idea what was going to happen with the Wii, and that thing sold like crazy. So who knows?
Yeah. Only time will tell. There's two more things I want to talk about. One is today is the day that I will announce the winner of my.
Oh, did I win?
You didn't put in.
Oh, yes, I did. I put in like 3 entries, all under different YouTube names.
Oh, well, you're probably a winner then. Okay. I don't have a ton of subscribers, but it'll be announced shortly after Beastly Thoughts today on the channel, and more than likely, if you're watching this, it probably already happened. So go to Beastly Gamer, check out my last video or one of my more previous videos to see who the winner is for my first giveaway. Also, I want to talk about something that's been plaguing the Xbox One as of late. It appears that NBA 2K14 is being bombarded with what appears to be DRM issues. Have you heard about this, Briarrabbit?
No, you were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show, and that was the first time I heard about it. But this does not speak well toward Microsoft's trust with the consumer.
Yeah, it appears that at least this game, from what I understand, Killer Instinct had issues as well. But it says, this is on cinemablend.com, it reads, Xbox One DRM bitches NBA 2K14 users, but it's the same as the Xbox 360 was, the response of a lot of apologists when the Killer Instinct DRM fiasco came. We've never received any wide reports about situations like the Killer Instinct scenario happening in the frequent manner with Xbox 360 owners, but that's the story the Defense Squad wants to stick to, and it's fine by us, said whatever his name is, Mr. Dandy, about 2K14. We received a couple of reports from users having trouble accessing NBA 2K14 on the Xbox One. Before getting around to explaining the image above, I should make it known that 2K Games was definitely experimenting with DRM in NBA 2K14, dabbling in some partial always-on DRM for certain modes that restricted players from playing the game offline. However, creating an offline profile and opting not to engage in any of the online content enabled some gamers to play NBA 2K14 offline, as we wrote about in the previous article addressing DRM. So it appears that this gentleman here was playing the game. All he was able to do was play the pre-game while the game loaded, and once the game fully loaded, it says, sorry, we are unable to check for the rights of this game. Try signing out of the Xbox and back in. If it happens again, try contacting customer service.
So this may be just a holdover from the previous Microsoft policies. You know, while those policies were still in place, these games were getting built, and it wasn't until this summer that those policies changed. And it might have been that the developers just didn't have time to remove all that code that were the hooks for the DRM, you know. And now that the Microsoft console doesn't have that hook in it, the game is just searching around for this, you know, DRM code that doesn't exist anymore because Microsoft reversed their policies. But this game has been getting created for the last 2 years based on those policies. So it may be that we're just seeing kind of the after effects of that, and we won't see any of this in the future. Or it may be that we have a whole world of hurt ahead of us.
Well, I don't think that'll be the issue. Microsoft is actually on a road to recovery when it comes to their customers, their consumers. And like the article said, the actual publisher of the game built this DRM into it from the start. So, and at the last minute, right before the Xbox One's launch, we're talking a couple of months, all this stuff got reversed. So, yeah, more than likely you're right. It's more than likely just a hiccup. If you guys are facing any issues with your NBA 2K14 on the Xbox One, make sure you leave a comment down below and let us know what's going on, if the situation has been fixed or if it's still persisting with your console.
Yeah, at least you didn't buy NBA Live.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that would have just been fucking retarded for anybody. Have you seen that game?
Yeah, it's bad. It's actually, I've actually watched videos of it, and it's actually fun to watch because it's so bad, you know?
Did you know that the developer of the game has released a video and an actual update patch to make it easier for you to dribble in the game?
Oh, you have to dribble?
Yeah. It's actually a tutorial showing you how to get your handles in the game. They really screwed that up, and people played that game for a long, long time.
They got a long history of messing with that franchise. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, that's what I got, Briarrabbit. What do you got for me?
I think we've gone through everything. I was watching some videos on the Anki Drive. Have you seen this thing? It's the real life racing game, and so you get these little cars in real life. They look like slot cars, and then you get this like big mat. It's like 6 foot by 8 foot. You put it down on the floor, and then you put the cars up to 4 cars down on the floor, and then you control the thing using your iPhone, and it controls a little bit like a slot car using your iPhone. And you can also like shoot the other cars, and so what you're controlling on the iPhone is actually happening in real life. So it's like this blend of, a video game on your phone and a real life game on the floor.
Is this thing available for the consumer?
Yeah, it's currently available. They released it, I think, this November or October. And I've been watching a couple of videos of that, and that just looks like fun. It looks like one of those things that, if you gave it to your kids, they'd probably get sick of it in a couple of days. Just like slot cars when we were kids. Those things were cool for about 10 minutes, and then you realize, well, I can't steer this thing. All I can do is hit this button. But
the fact that they're somehow marrying those two genres together, reality. I remember having the little racetrack, and I had fun with that, just pulling the trigger, watching the car. But having it on your iPhone, they actually have something similar, but it's not the same. We were going to get the boys for Christmas. Just basically, they're RC cars.
Yeah.
The big remote control cars, but you actually control them on your iPhone.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which, and see, the thing was, she was like, I don't know if they'd have problems doing it. It might be hard for them to understand. But we ended up not getting them anyway. But
you don't want to get your kid frustrated and have them throw down your phone either.
Definitely not. Well, my kids get frustrated, they just stop playing. That's why I'm going to be playing Zelda this week.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend it. I haven't gotten back to it since our last show. I was talking all sorts of game about the game, and it's still been sitting here. I just have been so busy that I haven't gotten a chance to play it. To get a gameplay for the channel lately, I've had to jump on, play for half an hour, and just try and get something. It's not happening naturally. Just because the holiday season is so busy and there's just so little time. We went to a bridal show today. It was yeah.
Oh, you had a busy day, man. I was up real late last night. I don't think I went to sleep till 5.
Yeah.
Because I work so much throughout the week that I feel like a kid on the weekends. I got to stay up as long as I can.
Yeah, maximize your enjoyment.
Yeah, and now today I'm like, oh man, I got to go right back to work tomorrow.
Yeah, but, you got to go back to work, get some rest.
This is something I wanted to tell everybody out there, okay? We're looking for guests for the BC Thoughts show.
That's right.
We're trying to have Cognate Player on with us today, but unfortunately that didn't pan out so well. So hopefully he'll be with us next week. But if you are a subscriber and you like to weigh in with your thoughts, please contact Briarrabbit or myself at the pages listed here. You can always find Briarrabbit at youtube.com/user/Briarrabbit channel, and you can find me at youtube.com/user/Candyman31280, or just search. Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind. First of all, I want to talk about doing the show live because this is our first time doing it live. Hopefully it goes smoothly. We'll have to see once we turn it off and look at the channel, but hopefully it goes smoothly. We talked last week about doing the show every week at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. So theoretically, that's what time it'll go live every week. This week we went a little early because of scheduling concerns. But hopefully it'll be a fairly regular thing that you guys can count on. If you want to watch the show live and talk in the comments section, we can definitely be reading the comments and interacting while we're doing the show. I think would be a lot of fun. Also, if you're interested in being a guest, get a hold of us. I don't think we necessarily need you to have a YouTube channel. If you just got something you want to talk about, I'd be happy to have you on. We got
definitely
unbelievable subscribers in the comment section every day, and I wouldn't mind having you, jump on the show and talk about what you've been playing, what are your concerns with the state of Call of Duty, if you're big into Call of Duty, or whatever it is. I'd love to interact with you. So many times I've tried to reply to a comment, and with the current comment system on YouTube, it's like. There's one guy who comments on, I swear to God, half of my videos. I think his name is Pizza for Siri. But for some reason, I'm never able to actually reply to his comments. It's just something about, I don't know if he's leaving them with an iPad or something, that the reply button is never there. And I feel bad because he probably thinks that I just don't care about anything he's got to say. So come on in, message me on YouTube, message Brett on YouTube, and we'll definitely get you in. It's a super easy thing to get you on Google Plus. You'll have to do a hangout. And it'd be a lot of fun to, actually interact with some subscribers, some other YouTubers. I know.
The thing I feel about it is this: I absolutely love this medium. I love talking to these guys. I love my subscribers. I love your subscribers. I'm one of your subscribers. I love what we do here. And as you guys can see, we're gamers. We love games. This is what we do. And if you feel the same way, if you got something on your mind that you'd like to talk to us about the past, present, or future of gaming, definitely contact us. You guys can contact me at therealbeastlygamer@gmail.com. That's just for my email. But you can always leave a comment on the page. If you haven't come through and subscribed, be sure to do that, guys. And same here with my subscribers. Definitely subscribe to the Briarrabbit channel. That's all I've got for today.
That's all I got for today.
We'll see you guys next time.